Okay, good evening, everybody. I would like to call the Township of Wainfleet regular council meeting of May 16th, 2023 to order. Please stand for the national anthem. We would like to begin this meeting by acknowledging the land on which we gather as the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples, acknowledging the One Bowl and Spoon Treaty. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, please note that the meeting proceedings are being broadcast live, recorded, and made available through the Township website and youtube.com. Today is Test It Tuesday in Niagara, so please join us in making sure that your smoke and your carbon monoxide alarms are working. Push the test button on every alarm in your home to ensure that it is working. Also, check the date. If the alarm is older than May 2013, it needs to be replaced. Regional Council meets Thursday, May 18th at 6:30 p.m. The next NPCA full authority meeting is Friday, May 19th at 9 a.m. Our offices will be closed Monday, May 22nd in recognition of Victoria Day, reopening as usual the following morning. Our regular meeting of council will be held Tuesday, June 6th at 7 p.m. Are there any announcements or remarks from members of council? Councilor Gilmore?
Thank you, Mayor. Just to make staff aware, I'll be away for the next meeting.
Any other remarks? Seeing none? Okay, we're going to move on to the adoption of the previous minutes. Minutes from the regular meeting of council held April 25th, 2023. Are there any comments or corrections for the draft minutes from the regular meeting held April 25th, 2023? Seeing none, I have a motion that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held April 25th, 2023 be adopted as circulated. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councilor McClellan, Councilor Anderson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Moving on, are there any comments or corrections for the draft minutes from the special meeting of council held May 4th, 2023? Seeing none, I have a motion that the minutes of the special meeting of council held May 4th, 2023 be adopted as circulated. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councilor McClellan, Councilor Van Fleet. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Are there any comments or corrections for the draft minutes from the special meeting of council held May 8th, 2023? Seeing none, I have a motion that the minutes of the special meeting of council held May 8th, 2023 be adopted as circulated. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councilor McClellan, Councilor Anderson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Okay, we're moving on to delegations. We have Albert Rumpf here to make a delegation requesting permission for the construction of the concrete slabs on his property for the purposes of placing 2 modular homes. Mr. Rumpf, you have 10 minutes to make your presentation.
Your Worship, Mr. Mayor, members of council, thanks for letting me address you. My name is Albert Rumpf, as the mayor mentioned. I'm the owner and manager of Southland Village. I'm sure that a few of you are acquainted with that development. And it's been around for a while. And the reason for my request to get before council and the mayor is we have two homes sitting in our park, and they're sitting on 4-foot steel A-frames. They've been there for almost a year. And my request is that we're allowed to put in two slabs, concrete slabs, engineered slabs, to place the homes they're on. And I have a letter from the ministry, the MOE, saying they have no objections as long as we don't hook up to sewer, water, hydro, etc. And I've agreed to that. I've agreed to that, but we need to get these homes situated off the temporary A-frames. We need to get them stitched together. If you know what a modular home is, they're about 1,200 square feet. And one of the homes is for me and my wife, and the other one is for Gary Fish. And Gary is in our audience tonight. So what we desperately need approval to get these homes put together on a concrete slab. And it's rather simple. We're not going to make this a long, drawn-out discussion. We don't need to, because everybody understands the simplicity of putting in a concrete slab, engineered slab, placing the homes on there, and then we will not ask for an occupancy permit. We will not do any hookups until such a time as we've got approval from the ministry for the East Bed sewage system. That application has gone in as we speak. But for that application to be processed, sometimes takes up to 6 months. And we're willing to wait for that. There was a previous request that I made to staff about temporary holding a permit, homes to be put on a holding tank. And the article, I believe it's Article 8 of the subsection 8, Article 3 of the Building Code does allow for that, on a temporary basis for as long as 12 months. However, we're not going to worry about that at this point. We just want permission to place these homes on the concrete slab. And I think that's it, and I thank you for letting me speak to that effect.
Thank you for your presentation. Are there any comments or questions for our delegation from the members of the council? Seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Rump.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, then I have a motion that the delegation presentation from Albert Rump be received as information. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councilor McClellan, Councilor Van Fleet. Any discussion? Seeing none, then I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed? So that is carried. We're moving on to our second delegation. We have Courtney Smith here to make a delegation regarding the draft short-term rental bylaw. Ms. Smith, you have 10 minutes to make your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good day. I am Courtney Smith, and I am here today to speak to council because I have been present at a couple of the previous council meetings virtually, and I don't feel that I have been represented, and I would like to provide a different perspective in the topic of the short-term bylaw for Wainfleet. So if you want to go to the next slide, I'll make the first two quite brief. But I feel that when we first discovered the beautiful town of Wainfleet in 2021, we purchased a property and have fallen in love ever since. We have spent months and months here during lockdown with myself, my husband, and I, and our 2-year-old daughter, Lauren, and we have hosted our extended family. My mom is oldest of 8 children, and my husband has a big family as well. You can go to the next slide. I just wanted to first introduce myself professionally. I am a designated CGA accountant, management consultant, and manager at the provincial government. I am a realtor and real estate investor. I am a public servant of 14 years, presently a manager for the labor training skills and immigration ministry. And I have a lot of experience in change management, public policy, budgets, and more. So I do hold my real estate license I have for many years, and I have a background from a community and real estate perspective. But I also want to share my public experience as well, and that's why I felt with both of these backgrounds professionally as well as my personal interest, I felt very passionately, and I'm very excited to be here and speak on this matter. Personally, I'm a wife and a mother, and a runner and a gardener. You can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. I'm going to skip through this for now. I have some other pieces I want to talk about. I'm going to come back to this slide. And I'm going to skip this one for now as well. And I'm going to jump right to our personal local Wainfleet vendors. So before I jump into this, I'm going to tell you a bit about how we stumbled upon Wainfleet. So first, just a bit about myself, because I feel this is really relevant. From previous council meetings, I feel like people who Airbnb their waterfront cottages in Wainfleet have been painted to be not caring, not hands-on, not kind, and just, all about the bottom line and don't care about their community. And I have to say that just isn't the case for our family, and it isn't how we've been operating. So I just wanted to share where we're coming from. So firstly, I grew up in Waterloo Region. My husband grew up in Guelph, and my husband's parents grew up in St. Catharines. They are very familiar with Lake Erie, so when we started to look at a waterfront cottage, they recommended we take a look at these shores. While we discovered our beautiful place in 2021, it was not feasible for us to buy it and carry it without at least renting it out some of the time. So I just want to be transparent that we could not afford to keep our Wainfleet home if we weren't able to rent it out at least some of the time. It is a waterfront property, and we are hoping to be able to afford it more and more as the years go by and we pay down our mortgage and hope to retire here one day. So with that being said, I just found it notable that our beautiful home was sitting on the market for 5 months and it had no offers. And frankly, it was out of our budget. If we had to carry it on its own, we couldn't have afforded to buy it. But we were able to buy it from a lovely 90-year-old couple who was moving into a retirement residence and had raised 5 children and 12 grandchildren. We are still friends with them to this day. In addition to that, I wanted to share that I am very entrenched in my Wainfleet community. I know all of my neighbors by name. My next door neighbor, Scott, he's married with 3 kids. He lives in Burlington full-time, and this is one of many cottages he owns. On our left, we have Mary Kay and her husband, Mitch. Mary Kay is a principal at a local high school. She owns the cottage next to her as well, and she also Airbnbs the home next to her, but it is her primary residence. Across the street, we have a farmer, Henry, and his wife. They have cows, and I don't know what else goes on a farm, but it's pretty cute to look at. They rent out that house to a lovely retired couple, Ruth and her husband. And beside them is Margaret, and beside Margaret is Lee, and I can go on and on and on. I can name all of my neighbors. We purchased in 2021 and have been renting on Airbnb since 2022. We have had over 50 guests. We have never once had a noise complaint. All of our neighbors love us. We know them all by name, and we support a lot of local vendors. So I heard the letter from the older gentleman in a previous council meeting, and I understand he is living beside a party house. And I just want to say I am all for the bylaw. I think that 90% of the bylaw is wonderful. I support it fully. I recognize the noise complaints and the parking violations and the disruptful behavior, and I do not condone that behavior. We have an extensive rental agreement that says if you cause a noise complaint, the $4,000 fine will extend to you regardless. So we take it very seriously, and again, if you ask any of our neighbors, we have been nothing but the loveliest of neighbors, and that is what we strive to be, the best neighbors, because I want to be in this community for years to come. So now brings us to the current slide. This is our wonderful property manager, Terry O'Neill, and her daughter. This is actually at our beach, at our home. Terry is a property manager who is local to Wainfleet and has 16 properties. Terry gets 20% of our income. And I just want to be transparent with that, because when you say that there's no benefit to local people and local income, Terry's a wife and a mom and has 3 kids. And I directly support her as a local property manager. She is always available, a phone or a text away, and I'm not the only property she manages. So the restrictions to the bylaws could be very punitive for not only owners, but a lot of the secondary businesses that support the tourism that is especially along the waterfront of Wainfleet. And keeping in mind that the waterfront of Wainfleet, as far as I know, I'm newer here, but it's a very small percentage of Wainfleet as a whole. Wainfleet as a whole is mostly farmland, and as it should be, it's beautiful. So this really just impacts the waterfront community, but it is a community that has been known to be cottages for a long time, and many of our neighbors have it as a cottage, whether they rent it or not. Now, I have a little timer here going. I don't want to lose my 10 minutes. I'm 6 minutes, 30 seconds in. But I want to really get through all of this because I think there's a lot of value here and maybe things that haven't been considered. So on top of Terry, we have Megan is our local yoga teacher who we refer to guests. Shiloh is one of our cleaners. Jane and her daughter Luna is one of our other cleaners. Alice and Kylie are our other cleaners. Jenna and her cleaning company are our other cleaners. Tyler is a local that does our snow removal and lawn care. We get our sod from the Wainfleet Sod Farm. We have our eaves troughs cleaned out and maintained by local firefighters. Our window washer is also local to Wainfleet. Nate does our break well repairs and our maintenance. Chip and his sons are our handymen. Chris is our plumber. Josh is our electrician. Nico is our HVAC. And Cam, who lives on Station Road, he was a roofer, but has since started a landscaping business where I am his #1 client. So I've also referred a lot of my neighbors to his business, and I take pride in being able to support my community and shopping local. In order to be a proper short-term rental, you need to maintain your property. And yes, it is a cottage, so no, I don't live in Wainfleet full-time, and I do require a lot of local support in order to make sure that our personal property is maintained in a way that we can be proud of, but also that our guests thoroughly enjoy. And we have over 35 5-star reviews on Airbnb. So, in summary, I wanted to make sure I left room for questions. I am just giving myself a time check that I'm 8 minutes in. I wanted to go back to the benefit slide, just really quickly, and talk about the tourism, shopping, dining, and staying. That's a huge benefit. The benefit that I see mostly, both from my professional background at the government, because I work for the Ministry of Labor and Training, employment, trades, and businesses, I think you're really underestimating the benefit that short-term rentals provides to local Wainfleeters. The more local, the better for me. I would rather work with vendors and businesses and professionals that are within 5-10 minutes away, and that means it's a Wainfleet local. Some of these people are paid cash. That's just the nature of their business, and this is their part-time job. Our cleaners often have full-time jobs in education or healthcare, or they have some other full-time job. And in the evenings and weekends, to help support their family because cost of living is expensive, they come and they clean our property. And we give generous cleaning rates of $40 an hour. So we are far above any minimum wage. We pay all of our people very well. And I just wanted to really emphasize the benefits that short-term rentals, when operated properly, can provide to the community. And when you have I guess, I don't want to say employer, but a business that is operating from a place of wanting to add value to the community and wanting to be respectful to their neighbors. In summary, I have so much more to say, but I'm running out of time. I just wanted to flip to the last slide and say that some of our vendors, some of our guests, we support a lot of local businesses. There's a wedding venue, Kehoe and Kin, the Long Beach Golf Club, Hungry Putter, 905 Rentals, DJ Roadhouse, JD's Delivery, I've gone through all of the vendors, but all in all, I just wanted to summarize that the two components of the bylaw that I'm asking you to reconsider would be the 6-person maximum and the limitation of day guests. Our home is on an acre, and we have 4 bedrooms, and we are often hosting extended families, and that's what people love about our place. They love that 2 grandparents can come, they can bring their adult kids, their spouses, and their kids, and have a group of nothing crazy, just 8 to 10 people, adults and children. We have pack and plays, baby monitors, toys. So, we're not encouraging party behavior, but the limitation of 6 guests and no overnight guests would ruin us and would cause us to pretty much have to sell our property. There has been a property for sale a couple doors down from us that's been sitting on the market, I think because there's a hold on short-term rentals, and a lot of people can't afford a cottage without renting it out at least some of the time, especially with interest rates and mortgages being as they are. So I would love to get any questions if there are any, but I also just really appreciate your time for letting me speak.
Thank you for your presentation. Are there any comments or questions for our delegation from Members Council? Councilor McClellan, go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. If all the owners were as good as you say you are, we wouldn't be writing a bylaw. The problem is 80% of the people are as good as you, or try to be. It's the 5 to 10% that are crazies that we have to control. And the only way to control it is you have to control everybody. So unfortunately, you get caught in a trap because of the bad operators, right? I feel sorry for you. I've gone through this. My kids are your age. I've gone through this argument with them in the same thing. But unfortunately, most laws in this country are written for the 5 to 7% of the dummies that can't follow the rules. So I feel sorry for you. Sounds like you run a great business, but how do we control the others? The rules, unfortunately, have to be across the board for everybody. There's where the problem lies.
Absolutely. Can I respond? So as far as I know, and this has gone really far in helping us never having an issue, is the $2,000 per owner on title noise violation complaint. That's any time of the day. We have this in the contract. Maybe we mandate this in the contract and have people call in if there's an issue, because we have people sign off, and I say that from the beginning if I have any doubts, if it's going to cost the guests or the owner if they don't transfer to the guests, $4,000 per instance, I know I couldn't afford to carry $4,000 fines at all.
So we thought of that. And the problem is, you run a great place and you have great neighbors. Let's say you get a miserable old guy like me there that doesn't want the Airbnb. So I'll take the blame and I'm the bad guy. So I call up because I don't like you, I don't like your dog, whatever, and say, oh, I got a noise complaint. I'm going to put you out of business unless we can figure out how to put noise monitors outside the place and make that work. So, I mean, this was brought up to me by my children, because they said, what if you get a miserable old person next door that doesn't like it? So, again, how much regulation do we put in this? Do we tell you, oh, you got to get noise regulators by a third party that records it 24 hours a day?
I have noise regulators by a third party that records it 24 hours a day. We could mandate that part of the bylaw. I will do anything. Anything. I volunteer my time for free to help brainstorm in any way we can to, frankly, save myself, because we would not be able to not rent out our place, and every group we have is over 6 people because we're an extended family place. So I hear you, and I didn't come here today to say that you're not doing a phenomenal job. I can empathize with how difficult it is. I've been following closely in other regions. It's really difficult, and you have a hard job, and I just wanted to come and share and say that I appreciate everything you're doing, and I'm on board with 95% of the bylaw, and I'm on board with regulation. Just those 2 things may not reduce noise complaints, and they would devastate, I think, a lot of places, including us.
Any other councilors have any comments or questions? No? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Smith.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Thank you, and good luck.
Thank you.
Call me. I'll help. Take care.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Is there any further discussion for the members of council? Seeing none, then I have a motion that the delegation presentation from Courtney Smith respecting the draft short-term rental bylaw be received as information. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councilor McClellan, Councilor Gilmore. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Moving on to staff reports, for delegation of powers and duties policy. Ms. Kirkham, would you please give us a brief overview of your report?
Yep, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to all of council. The purpose of this report is to provide an updated and more comprehensive delegation of powers and duties policy for council's consideration. In order to ensure the efficient management of the municipality and an ability to respond to issues in a timely manner, council has the ability to delegate certain powers and duties to municipal officers and employees. These powers are considered to be minor in nature and subject to such conditions and limits as council considers appropriate. The revised policy before you this evening includes a registry of powers and duties to be maintained by the Clerk's Department, which describes all powers and duties delegated by council to increase the accountability and transparency of the municipal decision-making process. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kirkham. So I have a motion that the administrative staff report ASR 007/2023 respecting the delegation of powers and duties policy be received, and that council endorse the revised delegation of powers and duties policy appended to this report as Appendix B. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councilor McClellan, Councilor Gilmore, any discussion? Seeing none, then I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Moving on to the review of council's procedure bylaw. Ms. Kirkham, would you please give us a brief overview of your report?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to all of council. The purpose of this report is to review council's procedure bylaw and propose a few minor changes for council's consideration. There are a few housekeeping amendments, and one significant change to note is the introduction of a consent agenda. A consent agenda heading is being proposed, which will allow for matters that are routine in nature and non-controversial, requiring no discussion to be considered by council as a summary matter in one motion rather than in separate motions. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I have a motion that the administrative staff report ASR 008/2023 respecting a review of council's procedure bylaw be received, and that staff be directed to bring forward the revised procedure bylaw attached to this report as Appendix A to the next available meeting for ratification. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councilor Wainfleet, Councilor McClellan, any discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, we're moving on to the 2023 property tax rates. Ms. Louie, would you please give us a brief overview of your report?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to all of council. So Administrative Staff Report 9 is a staff report with an accompanying bylaw to establish the 2023 property tax rates for the purpose of levying taxes as required by the Municipal Act.
Okay, so I have a motion that the administrative staff report ASR 009/2023 respecting the 2023 property tax rates be received, and that council consider the bylaw attached to this report as Appendix A to provide for final property tax rates for the 2023 taxation year at the May 16th, 2023 regular meeting of council. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councilor McClellan, Councilor Gilmore, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the question. All in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Moving on to the bylaw enforcement memorandum, referring to the summer student. Ms. Earle, would you please give us a brief overview of this memo?
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Our summer municipal bylaw enforcement officer has started last week and is currently in training, gearing up for the upcoming long weekend. In order for the student to legally enforce the township bylaws and to be classified as a municipal bylaw officer, an appointment bylaw must be formally approved by council. As such, this memo attaches the appointment bylaw for council's consideration, and this is part of our normal practice with all of the township's bylaw officers. Thank you.
Okay, so I have a motion that the memorandum from the bylaw enforcement officer respecting the summer bylaw enforcement officer be received as information. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councilor McClellan, Councilor Anderson, any discussion? Councilor Wainfleet, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Lindsay, just a question. Will the student have modified hours to offset?
Through Mr. Mayor and to the rest of council, yes, as typically with our previous summer students, we've had offset hours. I'm not going to announce the hours because sometimes they are during afternoons, evenings, and or weekends. So typically on the busier times, summer season, or beach long weekends, we will see the officer out more often.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, then I will ask the question. All in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, moving on to PSR 006-2023 Z01-2023 W12196 Augustine Road. Ms. Ivins, would you please give us a brief overview of your report?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So this report provides a review of the applicable planning policies as it relates to the zoning bylaw amendment application for 12196 Augustine Road. So the application proposes a site-specific RLS.C25-45 zone, which permits reduced exterior side yard setbacks, a reduced rear yard setback, and to exempt the property from Section 4.13 of the zoning bylaw regarding centerline street setback requirements. So a public meeting was held at the last council meeting on April 25th, which satisfied the public consultation requirements under the Planning Act. It's my opinion that the amendment meets the applicable provincial, regional, and township planning policies, and I have recommended that the amendment be adopted. The implementing bylaw is on this evening's agenda as bylaw number 19.
Thank you. So I have a motion that planning staff report PSR 006/2023 be received and that the zoning bylaw amendment file number Z01-2023W for the lands described as Plan 8, lots 55 and 56, NP 735, known municipally as 12196 Augustine Road, be approved for the reasons outlined in this report, and that the application be deemed consistent with the Provincial Policy Statement 2020 and other matters of provincial interest, and that the zoning bylaw amendment attached as Appendix C be adopted. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Van Fleet, Councillor McClellan. Any discussion? Seeing none, then I'll just ask the question. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, moving on to drainage staff reports. The consolidated South Wainfleet drain. Mr. Jameson, would you please give us a brief overview of your report?
Great. Thank you through you, Mr. Mayor, to all of council. So Drainage Staff Report 4 provides an update on the consolidated South Wainfleet Drain Section 76 project. So as summarized in Drainage Staff Report 2 of 2023, this project was initiated in 2017 and took a comprehensive look at the assessment schedule for all 48 branch drains in the system. So following the final information meeting, which was held on April 20th, 2023, GM Blue Plan submitted the report to the Township as required by the Drainage Act. Staff recommend advancing the consolidated South Wainfleet Drain engineer's report to the meeting to consider, which is proposed for June 6, 2023, and that would meet Section 41 of the Drainage Act.
Thank you. So I have a motion that Drainage Staff Report DSR 004-2023 respecting the consolidated South Wainfleet Drain be received and that staff be directed to advance the consolidated South Wainfleet Drain engineer's report to that of the meeting to consider on June 6, 2023 as per Section 41, Chapter D, 17 of the Drainage Act, RSO 1990. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor McClellan, Councillor Gilmore. Any discussion? Councillor McClellan, go ahead.
Mr. Jemison, on all your maps, give the drains. Can you put some road names on them so they're easier to follow? Well, there's some I don't know, and I'm looking at this and saying, well, I did, but you didn't answer.
Mr. Jameson?
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor, that can be something we can ask the engineer to do in the future, but as this report has been submitted as is, this is how this report looks, but for future, we can make that request.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, then I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Moving on to the fire staff report. Chief Alcock, would you please like to give us a brief overview of your report?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. The report before you highlights the operations, training, public education, and fire prevention efforts of the fire department for the first quarter of 2023.
Thank you. I have a motion that the fire staff report FSR 004-2023 respecting the 2023 first quarter fire and emergency services review be received for information. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councilor McCollum, Councilor Van Fleet. Any discussion? Seeing none, then I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Mark's gonna, okay. All right, moving on to the public. Oh, go ahead. Oh. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the Public Works staff reports. PAWSR 011/2023 regarding the award of tender drainage and road improvements. Mr. Nan, would you please give us a brief overview of your report? Oh, Mr. Jameson, yes, sorry. I know.
Thank you through you, Mr. Mayor, to all of council. So Public Works Staff Report 11 is in respect to the Bellevue Beach and Hill Avenue drainage, road, and improvements, which were approved through the capital budget deliberations. The report recommends awarding the tender to the low bid, Walker Construction Limited, and to engage urban and environmental management to perform the contract administration for the project.
Thank you. So I have a motion that the Public Works Staff Report PWSR 011/2023 respecting the award of tender for Bellevue Beach Road East, and Hill Avenue drainage and road improvements be received, and that council direct the manager of operations to engage the services of Walker Construction Limited to complete the Bellevue Beach Road East, and Hill Ave drainage and road improvements, and that council direct the manager of operations to engage in the services of urban and environmental management to perform the contract administration and inspection services for the project. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councilor Gilmore, Councilor Van Fleet, any discussion? Seeing none, then I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, moving on to PWSR 012/2023 regarding the award of tender for engineering services. Mr. Jameson, I'm assuming that's going to be you giving me a brief overview of that report this time.
Great. Thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. So Public Works Staff Report number 12 of the year is in respect to the Harborview Road drainage improvements and road reconstruction. This was approved through the capital budget deliberations. So the report recommends engaging Upper Canada consultants to perform the engineering services for the design of this project.
Thank you. So I have a motion that the report PWSR 012/2023 respecting award for engineering services for Harborview Road be received, and that the council direct the manager of operations to engage the services of Upper Canada consultants to perform engineering services for the design for Harborview Road drainage improvements and road reconstruction. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councilor Gilmore, Councilor McClellan. Any discussion? Seeing none, then I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Moving on to the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act compliance letter. Is there any discussion regarding the correspondence listed on the agenda respecting the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act compliance letter? Can I have a mover and a seconder? Or just going to receive it? Okay. We're just going to receive that as information.
I'm just going to say, thanks, Chief. Good job.
All right, so I will, do I have to call a question on that? Yeah, okay. All right, so I'll need a mover and a seconder. Councilor McClellan, Councilor Gilmore, any further discussion? Seeing none, then I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Yeah, it's okay. Okay, so I have a request to proclaim May as Brain Tumor Awareness Month. Is there any discussion regarding the correspondence listed on the agenda respecting a request to proclaim May as Brain Tumor Awareness Month? Seeing none, then can I have a mover and a seconder? Councilor McClellan, Councilor Anderson, for support, obviously. No other discussion? Then I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, are there any other items of correspondence the council would like to pull for discussion for or consideration? Councillor Anderson.
Through you, Mayor. I wanted to pull the correspondence from Tay Valley Township. It was addressed to the Honorable Steve Clark, and basically the context was that I would hope that we could support the other township, and the essence of the sort of, I guess, request from Tiny Tay was to reinstate a legislation permitting municipalities to retain surplus proceeds of tax sales. So that would then become a fiscal revenue for us. So I'm wholly in favor of that. Thank you.
Any discussion? Or can I get a seconder on that? Everyone. Councilor McClellan, go ahead. And any discussion? No? Okay. Then I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Perfect. So moving on to the bylaws. I have a motion that the following bylaws be read and passed this 16th day of May 2023. Bylaw number 018-2023 being a bylaw to appoint a municipal bylaw enforcement officer for the Township of Wainfleet. B, a bylaw number 019-2023 being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 034-2014 with respect to those lands forming Plan A, lots 55 and 56, NP 735 in the Township of Wainfleet and known municipally as 12196 Augustine Road. C, bylaw number 020-2023 being a bylaw to establish estimates and tax rates for the year 2023. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Gilmore, Councillor McClellan, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Moving on to notices of motion. Are there any notices of motion from members of council? Seeing none, we're moving into the closed meeting session. I have a motion that council now move into closed session to discuss an item under section 239-2C of the Municipal Act 2001, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality of local board. One item, a potential disposition of land matter. And number B, items under section 239-2BD of the Municipal Act 2001, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, labor relations, or employee negotiations. One item, a matter pertaining to an identifiable individual. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor McClellan, Councillor Anderson. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. We'll now move into closed session.